As someone who's been making content on YouTube for over 4 years now, nearly 4.5, I've learned a lot about what different pieces of media and content mean to me. And one of the things I love most is originality, uniqueness, seeing something that hasn't really been done before, seeing something that is a truly different vision that can show a new perspective of the world. And I've seen many great films, TV shows, played many great games, experienced many great pieces of media over the past few years. But at the same time, I've had a dedication to making my own media. As you've probably seen with the nearly 400 videos I've now released, I have a large vision that I try to express to all of you guys with each and every video of mine. But there was one video that was by far the biggest showcase of my vision ever. Downfall of WalterTheGermanyBall. Yes, nearly 2 years ago, I released a movie in this very room. This is the room where I finished the movie, finished editing it, and premiered it. And I made that movie, and it was very special to me. And I released it, and it did well. But now that it's been a while, I want to take a last look back. Since I'm leaving things behind once again, I want to take a look back and see, was it really that great? And why did people love it so much? Let's find out. So join me for the most confusing movie review to probably ever exist, where I will be reviewing my own movie, Downfall of WalterTheGermanyBall.
One of the major catalysts for original productions coming from my YouTube channel, however, was the resurrection of Walter the Germany Ball series, releasing in 2020 with 5 low-budget, somewhat terrible entries into what could just barely be considered a coherent narrative. After the final part of this gave me a strange feeling, though. I could simply not conceal my new fixation on wanting to create something much larger, much more significant, and much more ambitious. I eventually did manage to do this, though, namely by creating the 30-minute long film Downfall of Walter the Germany Ball. This film began production in November of 2020 after Resurrection had finished filming, but before the finale of it was released to the public. I wrote it within a couple of days, though it really wasn't at all like the final product. Late into the next month, though, a conversation with Panic leading up to the originally intended filming date led us to fully rewrite it from the ground up. This new script opened up so much for me, and it eventually led to the first filming session in early January of 2021. We continued filming in January and February, and as I explained in the bloopers video, many challenges came along the way, but eventually I finished it and released it on July 31st, 2021 to massive success. In general, I'd say one of the things that even I can't deny this movie is the visuals. Though I love to attack my own work, this is mostly not my doing. Despite coordinating all the shots, a lot of the great work here was done by Prince Bapalapa Shamalama Ding Dong, who acted as the amazing cameraman throughout. There are a number of shots that are memorable, even for me. The beautiful sunset along the mountains is by far the thing I'm most proud of, and if I had to pick one scene to save and let the rest of the movie die, this would definitely be my pick. Certain segments are especially striking even to this day, such as the sort of terror that is shown off by the part where the stranger finds out Walter is hiding in the closet and steps back. There are small moments that make a weird YouTuber movie feel much more artistic, and I'm very proud of the camera work here and everything that Prince and I worked toward. In terms of the actual action that carries the movie and the scenes that separate the different defining moments, I think we all did a pretty good job in terms of making a fast-paced, interesting set of scenes. There are a lot of slower scenes with more dialogue in the first few minutes, which is very important in order to establish the narrative, and though we'll get to how that doesn't totally pan out later, I think the dialogue itself, though a bit amateur and corny at times, is effective and occasionally interesting or intense. especially with the performance and writing for the stranger. I think we really delivered on an intimidating character. Panic's acting is undoubtedly one of the highlights of the movie, and I love the character we created around it. The characters in general aren't emphasized, nor are really emotional parts. Nowadays, I'm incredibly focused on emotional, hard-hitting narratives, but for my first ever film, I wanted something more lighthearted that would resemble Resurrection of Walter the Germany Ball. The action in general and the acting surrounding it is good for this low budget of a production with such little experience behind it, and though the music wasn't intended to be as it is, the editing work done on it causes it to often fit very well, allowing the action scenes to pack more of a punch. The first fight scene in the house was the first scene filmed for the movie, and though it shows that lack of experience, it also shows some of the talent and passion that many of the cast and crew members had, and I think that really blossoms into something quite epic in the final fights of the film, and the last act is, even to a self-critic like myself, pretty good all things considered. There are some embarrassing lows though, such as the scenes around the apartments which, though a miracle to be put to film in the first place, are so starkly disrupted by wind that it's almost unbearable and impossible for even me to watch them. They're really bad because of this simple mistake that was kind of out of our control, but it certainly still does damage to the overall consistency of the film. Outside of this mistake, I think there are a lot of cool fights that are well shot enough to be serviceable. For a first attempt, I can still look back upon a lot of the action-heavy segments and be proud of what was achieved with them, but I don't think I can necessarily say the same thing for the storytelling. In spite of serviceable action, great camera work, some interesting performances that brought unique characters to life and a weird but exciting premise, the overall narrative here really suffers due to it being my first ever full movie. I think Panic puts on a great performance, as do many of the others despite their minor roles, and the beautiful sights and set pieces can really distract from any storytelling issues, but they are there. Most importantly is world building. Originally, a lot of the more mysterious aspects of the plot would be explained, but when rewriting, we tried to make more of it grounded and realistic, but lost a few bits of clarification on what the heck is going on in the film as a consequence. This really helped the tone and pacing of the movie, but also left many viewers in the dark as to the true story being told. I tried my best to explain more through editing, but really the movie acts more as a piece in the middle of a sea of unreleased content for a growing universe, which is sorta inappropriate for the first piece of content in said universe. Many others have complained about this, and I, unfortunately, must agree. I'm proud of the movie and the fact that it even exists, but the story, in general, is relatively basic, as many of the themes that are present aren't explored in a very unique way, aren't given enough time to flourish, and very little about the story as a whole truly sticks out as exceptional. It's not overall terrible, there are a few nonsensical tangents or ridiculous parts, but it could have definitely had more time in the oven, and I really wish I could have given that to it, but many circumstances put that out of my control. Though, due to the immense amount of support and feedback I got from the movie, and how many other talented creators it inspired, I know that those issues didn't distract too much from my original intent, namely to provide a fun, interesting, impressive film considering how few resources were available to us and the insane amount of time crunch we were all under. In the end, I can't be happier that this movie exists. I was, for the longest time, ashamed of it due to how bad some parts may be, but now I can recognize what it excels at considering the things that were against it from day one, and it's much healthier for my outlook on it, on the past, on the present, and on the future, and whatever it may bring with it.
So I guess there you have it. This is the kind of movie I can't review because I made it. I can talk about what made it special to me, what I assume made it special to others, but at the end of the day, it's my own thing, and I am somewhat proud of it, because it does represent the fact that even though certain things will have their flaws, it matters most what they do broadly, and this movie inspired people. It convinced people to make their own things, and I think that's wonderful. And I made that movie with a group of people who I had known for years, but had to say goodbye to back and when I was filming that. And filming that was basically my goodbye. We filmed the last scenes, and that was the last time I've seen many of the people who worked on it with me. I haven't seen them since. And now I'm doing the same thing once more. I'm leaving all of this behind. And I made some very big videos that are basically like their own movie here as well. And we can celebrate those. And I want to celebrate it all. Let me get my outfit from Downfall Of WalterTheGermanyBall. Oh. Right. I don't have it anymore. Guess this is what happens, right? Move on. Well, now that I'm leaving this all behind, let's say one last goodbye. Shall we? Roll the montage.
Trying to
you.